Hi guys, welcome to Beauty and Gratitude. This is my second episode, so happy Friday. We're going to talk about the creative process. I have a major host. He has a great podcast as well, which we'll discuss. And SILVANA MARMOLEJOS, who is a casting director for many years, also a producer and marketing exec. And we have the great and talented Stephen Van Patten, who is an author of a series of books, Brookwater's Curse, which we're going to talk about in detail. And he also has some other books out there, so we'll discuss that and his creative process. So please tune in. And now I'd like to introduce to you Stephen Van Patten.
Well, hello. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, D'Angelo. What's happening?
Man, I'm glad you could come on today. You know, it's been a busy week, I'm sure, working on set.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me just, it's good you gave me time to get out of my hazmat suit in order to, sit here and look pretty for you.
Yes.
Man.
You know, it's amazing. It's an interesting time, but one thing I wanted to talk about is the creative process, especially you being a writer. And I've read your books, at least 3 of them. You have how many out there right now? How many books?
Right now, I'm at 6.
6? So what are the other 3?
Well, 2 of them are Killer Genius, She Kills Because She Cares, and Killer Genius, Attack of the Gym Rats. That would make sense once you read it. And the third one is Hell at the Way Station. Now, the Killer Genius series is about a socially conscious Black woman who becomes a serial killer.
Wow.
She's super intelligent. She kills in multiple ways. She's kind of like a Hannibal Lecter, but without eating people. Like she's that she's that level of resourceful. She uses a lot of high tech stuff and whatever. And basically she kills racists. And she also kills, how can I put this? She might actually kill a rapper if she doesn't like his lyrics.
So she's a kind of like socially conscious psychopath.
Yes, that's exactly what she is.
I like that.
And I came up with that simply. Actually, Hannibal Lecter was actually one of the inspirations for that, because you don't find it too often that you write, like if there's a story out there about a Black woman killing somebody, it's usually because she's just mad because some guy did something stupid and da-da-da-da. I wanted something a little deeper than that, and I also wanted to create this character that's like outsmarting the police and just ridiculously intelligent. And you never really see that too much with like characters of color. Characters of color, they're killing people, it's all like reactionary. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna twist this up a little bit. So that's basically why I did that.
Yes.
Oh no, I was just gonna say real quick, and Hell at the Way Station is sort of a self-indulgent project, if I had to be completely honest. It's literally about myself and another horror writer that actually lives like a couple of houses down, Mark Abbott. And it's a sort of the tough guy version of ourselves. And we go to this bar, and then this bartender is actually trying to feed the 2 of us to a demon. So in the midst of that, we end up telling 5 separate short horror stories. So it's the structure-wise, it's very Arabian Nights.
I love that.
And then at the end, we end up slugging it out with the demon. And the funny thing about it is, he was kind of in charge of that particular part of it. And so, and I always preface that, because at the end of the book, I'm really punching people in the face and doing all this like macho Schwarzenegger stuff. And and after we put it out, I was like, wow, I better hit the gym, because people are going to come to these book signings and they're going to be like, yo, son, man, I think I could take you, And I was like,
right.
So, I got to watch that. And we're working on the sequel to that, because it actually won a bunch of awards. And those are the 6.
Those are the 6. So Brookwater's Curse was the first 3 series, the first 3 books you wrote. Okay. So how was Christian born? Christian Brookwater. How was it born?
Well,
how was he born, I guess?
Here's the big shock. I actually grew up quite the nerd. and watched a lot of horror, watched a lot of science fiction, and got into this.
Me too.
Yeah, and got into this mode where it's like, I love this, and this is my great distraction from teen angst and all this other, you know, stupid shit. You know, because I also kind of grew up in the crack epidemic and all this other horrible shit happening in the street. And and to tell you the truth, as I got older, it started to occur to me that I was in love with something that didn't love me back. And and that's movies in general, especially back in the day where it's like characters of color very one-dimensional and not really flushed out and stereotypical and everything else like that. But I actually ended up seeing Blackula and Scream Blackula Scream probably way younger than I should have seen them. But they gave me, because of William Marshall's performance, like that kind of gave me some of the inspiration. And then we had this little incident where I'll just see how short I can make this. So I took, for my birthday, I had my mother and my aunt, two older women from Alabama, take me to see The Shining, because I had read The Shining and I was under the impression that the Black character in The Shining was going to save the day. And then when Scatman Crothers' character, Jack Halloran, takes an axe in the chest, the short version is, I got the blues all the way home. Like these two, because, you know, who wants, you know, two older Black women from Alabama do not want to watch Scatman Crothers get murdered. So that's, you know, the fact that it was my birthday be damned. So that kind of, I think that kind of stuck with me too, a little bit on the resentment end. And then that's when I decided someday I got to sit down and write my own horror stories. And then that's what I did.
Your books are amazing, man. I love, because you extract particles and information from Senegal, from Japan, from the South, from Boston, New York. So there's so many elements, but I think you capture each one extremely well.
Thank you.
Where did that come from? Did you study, you know, martial arts? Did you study Japanese?
I studied Kendo for a couple of years before television took over my life. So there was that. And to be honest, I didn't really go into it full on with a plan. I knew I wanted to tell a Black vampire story with a Black hero and all that. But in a lot of ways, the story kind of wrote itself. And I was actually working at Total Request Live as a stage manager while I was working on the first book. And the first book was the hardest because, you know, I'm constantly, you know, because I'm writing about the 1860s and the 1800s, and I'm kind of trailing and kind of making my way to current day, I had to keep stopping myself and like, okay, wait, I just said blue jeans. Are blue jeans a thing yet? Hold on. And then I got to stop and do that.
Research it.
And it was tough. And then I actually went to Senegal, which was kind of, it was a trip, to tell the truth. Being in Senegal, I think, is what helped me flush out that first part real well. In the first book, just in terms of the locations and the fight scenes and everything else like that, that kind of helped out with that. And then the second book, I did make a trip to Osaka, where, of course, and both of those, you know, and I gotta admit, both of those trips were very stressful because, well, first of all, you know, Black dude wandering around in Japan by himself. It's like, okay,
taking notes.
Right. You know, and it's like, but the thing is, the people were so sweet and they were so polite. Like, I would take the subway to one spot or the next, and I could see them in the glass staring at me, trying to figure out if I'm Will Smith or whatever the hell. And then I would turn around, and then they so polite, so nice. If I looked lost, somebody would come up and start talking to me, and, you know, and the thing is, I would know how to ask, you know, like where, you know, like where this is, but I wouldn't necessarily be ready for the answer because they just go full on Japanese and hit me with all these words. And I'm like, whoa. And it like, and finally they're like, do you speak English? And the way they're saying it's like, do you speak English, dum dum? Because we can just do
Right.
that. And, you know, we know you Americans don't take the time to learn other languages. It's fine.
But I think, you know, Stephen, I think you really captured the nuance of Japan, the respect of the culture,
Yes.
the hierarchy of the samurai. I don't want to tell too much about your book. I think everyone should read it for sure. But I couldn't put it down. You know, when I met you on a talk show, you know,
Yes.
you in passing said, oh, I wrote a book. I wrote a few books. I was like,
Right.
oh, okay. So I bought it, you know, thinking out of kindness, let me support this brother. And then I get it. And then I couldn't put it down. I couldn't wait for volume 2, you know, and I couldn't wait for volume 3. And I want to say, I want to get this made into a film. I really do.
Well,
Like,
I wouldn't
really
mind
do.
that myself.
Yes.
You know, and it's just, you know, to be honest with you, because, you know, I stage manage a lot of different shows and whatever. So that
Yeah.
takes a certain amount of time. What's been weird about this whole sitting at home dealing with COVID thing is that
Right.
I have oddly enough been getting some attention and some people talking to me about different things. So,
Good.
you know, I don't, I mean, I've had like development deal type stuff and things like that in the past. And it's, you know, basically what's happened in the past is I get promised the moon and the stars and I get the balls and the shaft. And so I've kind of shied away from even like, you know, like anybody who's talking too fast or whatever. I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't know, my man. You know, it's like you're not giving the vibe yet. But I think something is coming around the corner, so we'll see.
You know, I know a lot of writers, and especially script writers and people like yourself, myself that write, and I have my ears open to see, you know, are there potential synergies are out there. So I know there's a synergy out there and a market for this type of story. Because it's not like Blade. It's actually much deeper. It's actually much deeper.
And that's what I wanted to do. As much as I love the Blade series, there's a lot of stuff missing from that.
Oh yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Like I don't know too many main characters that go 3 movies with no sex scene.
Well, you know, Christian has some deadly.
And up front, I make up for that.
Right. Okay.
In the series.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I do make up for that, but it's just like Bad Santa. I mean, you know, come on. And he's not even as sexy as Wesley Snipes. It's like, what are we talking about here? You know.
So my question is, where can people find your books? Like all of your books?
The easiest thing to do, I guess, is just visit my website, which is www.laughingblackvampire.com.
Laughingblackvampire.com.
Yes.
Perfect. A few more questions about, can you talk about, or would you want to talk about some of your characters, besides the vampire, the werewolves, and the other creatures, or you want to leave it for the readers to find them?
No, what would you like to know?
Like I hope I'm pronouncing it right, the Rakshasa? Is that what it's called?
The Rakshasas.
Rakshasas. Where did that come from?
Okay, that's actually a good question. So there is an old episode of Kolchak the Night Stalker. I don't know if everybody that's here is old enough to remember that. Yes. But there's this one episode, and in the episode, the Rakshasa basically makes itself look like someone you love.
Right.
And you're in like a dark alley or somewhere, and you're like, hey, Cousin Cecil, what the hell are you doing out here? And the next thing you know, then you're being eaten by Cousin Cecil.
Right.
So I expanded that concept a little bit. I made them sort of like a community. They kind of operate alongside of the vampires and the werewolves as like a separate sort of like race, so to speak. They have their own way of dealing with life. A lot of them are porno stars because they can do that. That just sort of shape-shift into another person, show up on set, hey, you know. And all I was gonna say was, you know, they become a critical part of the whole thing,
Very much
because
so.
they actually they take a big L, so to speak,
Mhm.
and then they want retribution,
Right.
and then they end up blackmailing Christian into helping them.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that
It's a
that was.
powerful. Yeah, that's in book 2, I believe, and that's powerful, volume
I kind of
2.
set it up in book 1, and then book 2 is where it really kind of just
Where it
goes
really
bananas.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, which are very strong characters. So thank you for coming on. I really
Sure.
appreciate you. And I'm going to read the other books. I'm really excited about the one about the bar. That one I like.
Oh yeah, you'll get a kick out of that, I think.
You know, since like demon sex is a thing right now, so I guess that's a book that I should read.
Hey, how about that? Well, I know, right? Highest levels of government, and never mind. Anyway, yeah, how about that?
So to wrap this up, I would like to say I find your work extremely intelligent, beautiful. And what are you most grateful for when you're writing and when you're able to meet your readers?
Well, I think you basically just answered it. I mean, I can tell you right now, because going back and forth between stage managing, which is basically my paycheck. It's something I do decently enough to that I continue to work and everything. Thank you. But I'll have my bad days. I'll have my good days. But then when I get that random review, oh my God, I love the book. And when I actually can go to a convention and run into somebody who's already read the stuff, or, and it's so funny because sometimes just the sales pitch, oh, this is about a black lady that's a serial killer. Sometimes they're just throwing the money at me at that point. Like, oh, what? Oh my God, and they, yeah, like there's been so many times I've just kind of like I didn't bring enough books because, baggage fees, so I don't even have enough books. And then I'm like sold out, and then just wandering around the convention. Oh, hi, hey, hi, how you doing?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So that's the stuff I'm grateful for. Just the fact that I can actually sit here in this room, make up stuff, and people dig it. Like, yeah, that's.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Solivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Hey everybody, I'm Francesca Maxime, and want to really invite you into a new conversation, which might feel a little bit uncomfortable to start. Inside Out, with Natasha and Francesca, unpacking racism. Where did we get these ideas? Why are we in this white body supremacist society? What is it to be an embodied anti-racist? I'm with Dr. Natasha Stovall. Natasha, explain what you see in your therapy sessions and why you want to do this show.
I want to do this show, Francesca, because so many white people in my practice are asking, why is it that the world that we live in is so racist, but I don't feel racist? I'm not a racist. And even though I think that's a very sincere question, I think all white people now need to begin from a place of the world that we create is racist, whether we mean it to be or not. So how do we understand and start to change the ways that we have learned, whether it's something we're aware of learning, if anyone who taught us was aware that that's what they were teaching us, how can we help them stop practicing racism even when they don't feel racist? So that's where we're starting from, and we're going to go from there. And yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's what therapy is all about, and that's what therapists are good at.
All right, Natasha, thank you. And everybody who wants to tune in, it's pretty much a show that's going to be about white-bodied folks and inquiries there. And certainly we'll be taking your questions, but anybody can tune in. It's going to be on Facebook Live Wednesdays at noon. We'll look forward to seeing you.
Some people have a posture in which the shoulders round. Some people have a belly that came from long hours working in a computer. Driving, grabbing your baby, the posture changes with your lifestyle. So we have to reprogram our posture in order to have a better lifestyle. So what is important here to know? Our core, the house of our body, with the roof here, the diaphragm, with the pelvic floor that is the ground, and the whole core muscles are the walls of the house, have to work properly in order to have a good posture and a good movement.
Watch Body Fit with Alexa Marine every Monday and Thursday at 9 a.m. right here on Solivity TV.
Cool. Stephen, I want to apologize for getting cut off. We had a little technical problem.
Well, it happens. We, you and I both know that's the world we live in.
Yes. At the end, I want to have you come back on and we'll plug your books again and also your website. So thank you so much for this time. I appreciate it.
Please. I'm the one that should be thanking you.
Yes, the book is
I'm going to hang out.
Yeah, thank you. Cool. So we're going to bring Silvana Marmolejos on, and we're going to talk about marketing and casting and a lot of things. So, hi, Silvana.
Hi, D'Angelo. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. Just hanging in there during these times and making the most of it.
Yes, I love your apartment. It's beautiful. Your home.
Thank you. It's the office space, and I just make sure I keep it really calm, colors, cool, relaxed, and I actually work with relaxing music, and I often get made fun of for that. I just go ahead and keep it going.
I know. Let's talk a little bit about your career. Your career at MTV, at Telemundo. Producing. Talk to me. Tell me about your career in the TV world.
So I definitely was not trying to get into the TV world when I was starting the university. I was actually a business law student, and I thought I was on my way to become a real estate attorney because it was actually my first job at the tender age of 14. So I was actually, it was a woman that came to my house, and she was just knocking on my door, and she's like, I'm running for council in this area. And she was a young attorney, and I kind of just I thought she was everything I wanted to be in the future. And I asked her, can I help you run? I think you're a great leader. I think we need more women like you.
Wow.
And I kind of started to knock on doors. She thought it was great that I wanted to come on board. And she actually lost an incumbent, but I got my first job, so it worked out. And and I was sitting in real estate closings and loving it. It was a time where the real estate industry was booming, and I was just 15 years of age, and so I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then one day, while I was in the second year of university, I drove in front of a Telemundo television station, and out of curiosity, right? Aren't we curious, D'Angelo? Aren't we the curious ones?
That's the key.
So I just decided to stop in front of the station, and I walk in, and this lady this Cuban lady starts to scold me and say that in life, if I never come on time, I'm never going to be able to accomplish the things that I want.
Wow.
And she picks up the phone. She was so right. She was so right. And she picks up the phone and calls some guy from the news, and he comes out and hands me a paperwork for the internship. It turns out that day was the day that college students were coming to sign up for internships, and I just so happened to walk in after that, and I grabbed the paperwork. I'm like, so sorry, I promise I'll never be late again.
Right.
And filled it out, and I saw it as a calling, and I was just like, you know what? And I started in news as an with an internship, and here I am today. After that, I started. It was with Telemundo, and then shortly they were building their Latin American platform called Mundos at the time. And there was
remember that. Yeah.
Remember that? It was they were targeting all Latinos in the U.S. And there was this local artist that was starting to get a little bit of recognition, and his name was Pitbull. And they were basically recruiting all of the staff to do his show called La Esquina, which is called The Corner in Calle Ocho, Miami.
I'm a huge fan of Pitbull, honey. Huge fan.
Can I tell you, I learned so much from him while we were on set. I think he was like just an open book for everyone.
Right.
One of the only artists that I had the privilege of working with that remembers every staff member's name and goes individually to say good morning or good afternoon as soon as he arrived. So much respect for him. And
you can tell he has a lot of gratitude for where he's come from and where he is. You can feel it, even through the television. You can feel it.
Absolutely, D'Angelo. He brought like his family sometimes on set, and he was just always grateful, even for the staff. He always said thank you. He was always, very respectful of everyone's time and tried to get the takes on, on short timing and make everybody happy. And very flexible, very, very flexible. So that was a really, really phenomenal experience for me. And then what happened was MTV's Latin American branch started. MTV, yes, exactly. So then they were like, what do they say now? They snatched me. So they snatched me over. And I started to develop all of their programming. They wanted to do Sweet 16. Remember that hit show?
I didn't watch that. No, I didn't watch that.
So Sweet 16 was all about these lavish coming of age parties that American girls throw.
Yes.
And the whole journey and process. And so I was doing, they wanted to do the same version for the Latin American platform. And the show was a hit. It's called a quinceañera.
Yes.
Have you been to one?
I've never been to one, but I know about them. Yes.
So it's very much like a Sweet 16, but it has all of these.
Money.
Oh my God! So we had like, I mean, we would have like $80,000 coming of age parties, $90,000 to $100,000. Like it was just crazy, and you'd have these young girls who'd be complaining because their cake was not perfect, or the Vera Wang dress didn't have the one detail and they just lost it. And I'm here. And so that show was a hit for MTV's Latin American brand. But what was interesting is we found that the Latin American audience didn't really gravitate towards the lavishness as much as they did to the story of the girl. And so we would, we started to learn that it wasn't about it being grandiose. It was about, the stories underlined, like, if the girl has a father, that is a special, has special needs. And so in order for her to do her father-daughter dance, she can't do it traditionally how it's done, standing up. Or it was all about finding really unique storylines, or the young girl who got pregnant when she was really, right before she turned 15. And the issue
they wanted a novella. They wanted a novella.
It was a novella. It was, and listen, those coming of age parties, they are novellas. I used to, by the time I was like 16, I probably must have been in like 15 of them. And you always find out something happens and somebody drops out of the party. It's a novella, And yeah, go ahead.
So during that, like, you segued into casting. Were you casting at that point or shortly after?
So I was involved in, I started to slowly get involved into development as well. So then
Okay,
from the
great.
coming of age party, the wedding shows, you know, we started to do wedding shows. That was a hit. Then we started to do cooking shows. And so it just kind of like, you know, I grew from a team of like, we were a team of like 3 people to like almost a team of 6 people in less than a year and a half. And it was just like continue to produce more of these shows because they were just doing really, really well. And then I kind of segued into nonprofit and really uniquely, because I was a little burnt out. It was a lot of years, like almost 5 years.
That can happen. Yeah, that can happen.
Yes, D'Angelo. So I was just feeling like life was kind of, I took finally a vacation after many years. And I went to the Caribbean, and they had asked me to come speak to some young ladies at an orphanage, right?
Yeah.
And it was like totally out of the blue. And I come from a family of service, like, you know, a family that is always trying to give back to others. And so that's a natural thing, you know, growing up in you know, my home with a bicultural family. My stepdad was from Grenada, he's Black, and my mom is Latina. So, you know, they kind of instilled that in me and my other 2 sisters. And so I go to, right? And so I was, long story short, I went to speak to these girls and they start laughing and they're like, "We know who you are." And I'm like, "Well, darling, who am I?" I don't know who I am.
Right.
I'm still trying to figure this out. But they're like, "You're the lady who does the quinceañera shows." And I'm like, "Yes." I didn't even know they were syndicated there.
Okay.
And so I was like, "Do you ever wonder or desire to have a quinceañera party?" And they start laughing and they're like, "We're too poor for that. We don't have parents. You're so silly." And that really, like, I just had a moment where I just was like, okay, so this is what I'm supposed to be doing next.
You had a calling. You had a calling.
I had a calling, D'Angelo, and it was I, honestly, to this date, the work that I'm most proud about. And I really felt like it was a life transformation for myself and for those girls simultaneously. And I learned more about life. I learned more about humility. I learned more about just the fact that I have choices of shoes to select in the morning compared to going through those young ladies' home, and seeing how limited things are, and they were still happy and they were still singing.
You know what's interesting? That's happened to me as well, where I've been to countries that were very poor, but yet I saw the smiles, I saw the laughter, I saw the gratitude. You know, how old were you when you saw that? You know, when you were connecting with these young girls? How old were you at that time?
So I was mid-20s. I was like 26-ish. Yeah. I didn't know. This is one thing that I told myself. It's funny that you asked how old are you, because I didn't normally. What I've learned is people get involved into practices of giving back when they're older in general, like right. But you know, for me, I was so close to them in age in a way that they saw me kind of like their big sister. Not like that judgmental, and also, like, I could remember my mom wasn't able to do a quinceañera for me, and for me this was like my way of giving it to them, you know, even though I feel like something is really powerful when you're pulling at trying to give someone something that maybe you haven't had. So I just thought it was really powerful. And I thought, you don't give back when you've made it necessarily. You know, people say, "Oh, I'm gonna cut a huge check," right? When I'm a millionaire. Life is so short. We never know where we're gonna be or how long we're gonna live.
You're either generous, no matter what place you are in life, or you're not. So when people say, "Oh, I'm gonna do all this when I'm wealthy," no, you do it now. You do it now, you know? And those young women, I'm sure if you were to go back and talk to them now, you changed their life. I'm sure of it.
It's so funny. They reached out to me during COVID, and we still talk. And one of the girls had told me while we were doing this mission trip, it was my best friend since grade school, and myself, and it was crazy because one of the girls, all these like little, when you're doing things for others, it's like I find little miracles happen along the way, like really interesting, like just magical things.
Little synergies, yes.
Yes, and like one of the little girls, they were like, Silvana, I always wanted to be in Telemundo, and I was like, that's so great, you still can do that. And then while I was doing the quinceañera, like 3 weeks later, this lady from Telemundo writes me and is like, I heard about this thing that you're doing, and I was like, she's like, I want to talk to one of the girls, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is supposed to be that little girl who told me before. And it's like all these things just come together in a way that it's funny, people give me the credit, but I just kind of show up, and then like a lot of things and people come into place to help bring it about. So I think it's so collaborative.
It's true, and you allow yourself to be led. You know, when you reflect on your life to date, what are you most grateful for?
You know, what I'm most grateful for, and I'm sure some of them are tuned in because they're my biggest support team, is my family. I just, you know, I could call them today, right now. It's at 8:30, and say, I'm getting married at 9 p.m. and I'm gonna have 100 people outside. Because my grandma, she was a busy one with my grandfather, and she had 11 kids.
Ooh, funny. Wow.
So we're a big family, and we're very much a close-knit family. And I think that that's so important. To feel supported in life is one of the biggest gifts that I think God can give you. And so being born into a family that's that loving, that supporting, that nurturing, and just overall unconditional and unwavering in their ways, I think is one of the things I'm most grateful for.
And that comes from you. I thank you so much. I'm so grateful our paths crossed, you know, at the Latino Commission on AIDS, which, you know, we worked on the benefit committee for many years. And thank you for coming on. Is there anything you would like to share, people to check out?
Yes, so we're looking for the next trip to be virtual this time around. So we're gonna have the next mission we're gonna do with the young girls, due to the current state of affairs, is gonna be a virtual experience. I think because these girls need it more now than ever. And we're gonna probably be doing it in October. We're figuring out the right dates based on, you know, how things are looking with the COVID situation, and making sure we're remaining within protocols. But yeah, so October, we may have our next quinceañera mission trip. So
please let me know. And I want to help you as much as I can. I definitely want to help, so let me know.
Thank you, D'Angelo, I will.
Thank you for coming on, Silvana.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Such
Our
a
next
pleasure.
guest is Brandon Johnson, actor and TV host, and we'll be right back. Thank you, Silvana.
Thank you, D'Angelo.
Bye, sweetie.
We're back live on Facebook, YouTube, and maybe even Instagram, wherever you get your video podcast. Join us every Wednesday night live at 7 o'clock for some juicy conversations.
Hueva, mi gente. Listen, I just wanted to jump on here really quickly to share some amazing news with you guys. I have joined forces with Celebrity Magazine to bring you Conciencias con Cocktails, where we're going to be streaming important live conversations with influential leaders about current events over delicious cocktails. It's going to be mind-blowing. Our guests are going to blow you away. Listen, you can't miss it. Join us, stay connected for more details, and we'll see each other soon. Gracias.
Welcome back to Beauty and Gratitude, guys. Our next guest is Brandon Johnson, a very talented actor, TV host. I've known him for over 2 decades. And one thing we have in common is gratitude. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, Dee. This is very special. I always love doing these creative experiences with you.
Yes.
Good.
So what's going on? How are you dealing with this COVID?
Wow. How am I? Well, I call it, this is your calling. This is your opportunity as a creative or for anyone to become what I call quarantine creative. So I have met with some creatives that are just in total shock. They can't move. They don't know what to do. The pieces aren't fitting. And then there's other people that will take this opportunity to flex the muscle deeper, to dive into a whole new treasure trove of ability that and find a new habit, find a new quality. This is an opportunity to completely reframe this experience. I certainly wish it was different. However, on the topics of gratitude and the topics of just overall self-care and perspective, this is an opportunity to, you know, Silvana was speaking about earlier about, you know, family and I have a son, he just turned 6, and I was really sitting there thinking about the power of this very intimate time, this time that I get to have with him. I never had this kind of connection, this close connection with my father as a young boy. I don't know, we all don't know what kind of developmental, from emotional standpoint, mental standpoint, what kind of impact this will have on the youth. They are our future. So it's important for me now to work on these moments with him about strengthening the internal muscles, those emotional muscles, finding ways to communicate those feelings and those emotions. And it's increasing our intimacy in a really beautiful way. My wife and I too. My wife is, I think she's going to be coming on this show in a couple weeks.
Next week. Yeah, she'll be on next week. Aria.
So as you know, she is a phenomenal interior designer, has her own firm. And because of the situation, we just started our own little new YouTube show called Unboxing Flat Lay. And so she's got just an enormous library of fabrics, materials, stones, tiles. And she's been very lucky to travel the world and see some of these factories and stuff. So we thought, why not, because we can't show up in person, there's no lunch and learns anymore, vendors are this is an opportunity for her to bring the product to you, and the vendors are flipping out. And so
it looks good. It looks really good. It looks beautiful.
I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here, but it is a fun opportunity for she and I to come together. For years, we have been asked to come on various shows as a duo or a couple. And, you know, I think we all know what it's like to be on set for 16, 18 hours. Somebody that's good with the 9 to 5, when the 5 o'clock bell rings, she's done. You know, she's not, it's not like, oh, Ariel, could we get you just to do that one more time? No, he's out. So anyways, we're coming together in that way. I am, you are just my most recent guest on my podcast, Fully Alive, which was
Fully Alive, which is a great show. It has a lot of great content, you know, inspiring content.
Well, that's part of the quality, to inspire, uplift, educate, and support, to bring on people that came to, maybe at times in their life, it was a dark night of the soul. It was the moment where it all crashed and they thought it was over. But in turn, these setbacks were actually leading them to exactly where they needed to be in their lives. And not only in their lives, but in their career. It's always powerful for me to hear those stories, especially in a time, in a zeitgeist of adversity and of strength. And I don't want it to be yet another self-help kind of whatever the judgment is on that show right now. But I do want it to be authentic and vulnerable. And so I've been able to have some guests come on that perhaps wear a different mask in the workplace, but I want to create an environment where they can really unzip and be like, hey man, this is what it was like. This is where I was, but this is where I'm going now. We talk about humility, a clear representation of who and once we were, followed by a sincere attempt to be what we can become. It's a bit of a mouthful, but this is where I am. But I know
and a lot of humility. With humility, a lot of gratitude comes in, right?
Absolutely, it's a right sizing.
Yes. So talk about your Gratitude in 60 Seconds, which was started before Fully Alive, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. That was where it all began. I had one of those dark nights of the soul. 2 years ago, I was doing, my career had gotten quiet, and I needed to find a way to earn, and I leaned into doing some real estate after I had met this president while I was at the University of Santa Monica studying spiritual psychology. Because
which I'll be going to, by the way.
What's that?
I'll be going to eventually, by the way. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll
brother.
talk about it later.
That's amazing. Well, get ready to soar. So anyway, so he gave me an opportunity, and I decided to leap, and there were beautiful qualities and experiences that I had in that. But the truth of it is, you know, I'm 20 years plus in creative as a television host, actor, whatever, musician. That's where I really come alive, right? And but anyway, so I just got to that point where I can't do this anymore. I can't. I'm dying, and that's how it felt. And my son threw a Hot Wheel and it went smacked me in the face, and I didn't know what to do. And I got up and I left the house and I started walking. I didn't know where I was going to go. And I found a bank by my house and I just collapsed and I just fell apart.
Oh, wow.
And I had homeless people coming up to me doing like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "I'm just having a midlife crisis. I'm good." So, but that moment was the true call to spirit, asking for that assistance, asking for that direction, being completely on my knees, metaphorically, saying, "I need your help. I need that assistance." So that night when I got back, I wrote out in 7 minutes. I still have the piece of paper around here somewhere. Do I have it here? Oh, anyways, but I wrote down 7 intentions that I wanted to do. In like, I don't know, 8 minutes, just flew out. And the very next day it began. So Walking in Gratitude, Inspiration in 60 Seconds spawned from the idea of my desire to create conscious content. I have worked, you know, in the reality space at times as a host, and I've done other various television shows, and you know, we all have that Wizard of Oz moment where the curtain comes back and we're like, "Oh, this is what it's like," you know. But that being said, there's been some phenomenal, incredible experiences, and I'm so blessed for some of the
a lot of teachable moments within that, you know.
Absolutely. So, but I did get to the point where I was experiencing so much negativity, negative narrative on social media, etc., that I decided to take accountability, turn the camera around on myself, and say, I'm going to start putting stuff out. I'm not here to badmouth you on social media or tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't. But I am going to introduce you I'm going to introduce an idea to you.
More light.
Just consider it.
More light.
And I started doing that, and then hashtag Walking in Gratitude started popping up on the East Coast, and then in the Midwest, and then on the West Coast, and it was just a butterfly effect. And then I got approached to do, and then people started taking notice, and then this podcast came and all that jazz. But yeah, so if I could just infuse the gratitude, then that seemed like such a beautiful place to create from.
Brandon, so what's next for you? Like with the podcast, which keeps you busy, and your new show with Ariel, what's next for you guys? What's next?
More leaping off the cliff, trusting that the net will appear. You know, there's a couple things in the works. I'm in talks about shooting a couple other spots for some things that, I mean, we'll see, because we're trying to work out this whole COVID situation, which is really challenging. The shoot would take place in Chile. They're probably not going to do it there, so we may move it to Los Angeles. But what's next is continuing unboxing Flat Lay, creating that content, getting that going, continuing this podcast, as I said, being open and available to any opportunities. A lot of what I do too is sometimes, though I spend a lot of my time in front of the camera, I do a lot of stuff behind it, from the producing, from the development. I've done proof of concepts for every freaking network out there. So there's that. Teaching my son how to play the drums. And I
noticed that you gave him a drum set when he turned 6, no?
His birthday was 2 weeks ago, and I said, all right, brother, you ready to do this? It's on. So, but, you know, and speaking of it being on, so is soundproofing. You know, karma is paying back. So,
Yes.
but it's really been a beautiful time, as I said earlier, to come deeper into family and to see what we have. Take a look at radical gratitude, the ability to flick a switch, the light comes on, turn a switch or faucet, and clean water comes out. Getting back to these basics, the ability to walk, tapping into your 5 senses. These are all little things to begin with, but highly impactful.
Thank you so much for coming on. And I want to do a round robin with everyone. So we're going to go for a quick break, and then we're going to have everyone come on. Okay? Thank you so much, Brandon.
Ask for Candy is partnering with Celebrity Magazine, which means we're back live on Facebook, YouTube, and maybe even Instagram, wherever you get your video podcast. Join us every Wednesday night live at 7 o'clock for some juicy conversations.
Hueva, mi gente. Listen, I just wanted to jump on here really quickly to share some amazing news with you guys. I have joined forces with Celebrity Magazine to bring you Conciencias con Cocktails, where we're going to be streaming important live conversations with influential leaders about current events over delicious cocktails. It's going to be mind-blowing. Our guests are going to blow you away. Listen, you can't miss it. Join us, stay connected for more details, and we'll see each other soon. Gracias.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you, Brandon, for coming on. Is there anything else you would like to share with us?
Be kind to each other. Play nice in God's sandbox, whatever that means to you. Yeah, that's just really it. Just try to be the light. Be the example. You'd be surprised what a smile can do to somebody. Open a door for somebody. Give. Service. Get out of yourself. Help others. That's
Can you
it.
say that again? Get out of yourself and
get out of yourself and into others. Put your attention on your intention.
Yes.
That's it.
SILVANA, what's going on? Thank you for coming on, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I think take some time to get to know you more, fall in love with you more, and then everything else will just fall into place, and you'll become a better individual all around.
That's very true. Stephen?
Well, if I have to go with some advice, I'd have to say do what I'm doing, which is making the best of this break, this pause, this God telling us to sit the hell down for a little bit. Whatever this is, don't internalize the negative.
Yeah.
And focus on making lemonade out of these lemons. I know that's kind of cliche, but I mean that's literally what I've been trying to do. So that's that's what I think will get us through it.
And sometimes I think you have to mute life, like mute all the noise on social media, mute all the noise coming from friends and family sometimes. They're like, what are you doing? You know what? Don't worry about what I'm doing.
Worry about yourself, okay?
Don't knock on my office door while I'm trying to do this live.
Yeah.
Let's just do self-care and help the world around us, because the biggest thing for me is really checking in on people, that I know not really well. Some of them I didn't know really well, but I've gotten closer to during this time, and like literally knocking on my neighbor's door to make sure he's okay if he needs anything. Checking in on people, how they're feeling when things happen within our country, especially a few weeks ago when there were rioting, in downtown LA for sure, and really asking people in their eyes, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And really mean it, and not just a quick surface like, hey, you doing okay? Okay, bye, but stopping and pausing to engage,
Yeah.
Absolutely. So true.
Yes. So Brandon, Fully Alive, when is your next episode?
Good question. I am currently setting that up right now. So you'll hear about it, though. I'll be blasting you out. One thing, though, I will say is that I recently got hacked on Facebook. So my entire profile and 722,000 followers has been disintegrated. So I'm going to start from scratch.
Wow.
But as with life, you can knock me down, but I will always get back up.
All right now.
And,
Absolutely,
we're still
yes, you
going.
will.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Check it out. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all those places. Check out offers a little inspiration. And then, yeah, pop on YouTube, more unboxing flat lay, and who knows what the universe will drop in my lap sooner than later.
Beautiful things. Beautiful things.
So true.
And
So
Stephen,
true.
working with your book.
I am. So, funny thing, with all the
Book.
rioting and everything else that's been going on, I actually got asked by, nice.
Nice,
I
D'Angelo.
think we just found my Christmas card. With everything that's been going on with the riots and the civil unrest and everything, a YouTube channel that I was originally doing spooky vignettes for started asking me to do Black history stuff. So the
I
first
saw
one
that,
I
yes.
did, yes, the first one I did was about the Tulsa race riot.
Mm.
And the next one's Harlem Hellfighters, and we have a little stack of that. So that's been taking away a little bit from me being, you know, Prince of Darkness spooky guy. But
Okay.
I am about halfway done with Brookwater's Curse 4 because I've had time to sit here and work on it. So
Wow.
there's that. And, you know, there's occasional short stories that, you know, I'm dropping in different horror magazines and everything else like that. And,
Okay.
you know, so I am taking my own advice. I am making the use of the time. And I'm also podcasting as well. So as you can see.
Everyone is being inspired, you
What's
know? Yes.
Yes.
I said everyone is being really inspired during this time. That's what I'm noticing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm very thankful for Solivity.com as a platform.
Sure.
And I've been able to share fashion and beauty stories, but also expand into doing this. And
Mm-hmm.
Brian has been asking me for years to do my own podcast, but I didn't feel ready. But during this time, I felt like I had something to give, you know?
Yeah.
So,
You know, to
and I'm
add to that
grateful.
too, D'Angelo, like we're so rich in time right now. There's
Yeah.
something really nice about feeling rich in time, and
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Well, guys, we have to wrap this up, and I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on Beauty and Gratitude. So thank you.
Well, thank
Thank you, D'Angelo.
Thank you, D.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Bye, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Brian, I can wrap it up.
Solivity Magazine brings you the best in inspiration on Solivity TV. Check out our new shows. Mark your calendars for Solivity Magazine shows by going to solivity.com now.